When I started trading, one of the worst feelings I had was trying to find out whether today I should buy or sell. What I ended up doing is taking buys and sells and losing an absurd amount of money for no reason. This is a common feeling, to feel lost on the charts, not knowing whether you should buy or sell, and this is where bias comes into play. Bias will save you thousands of dollars, save you time at the charts, and give you a clear head of what you should be looking for, exactly buys or sells, just by using the price action that's presented on the charts. Without bias, I would have never been able to achieve my 75% win rate, which I publicly demonstrate live on YouTube on a day-to-day basis. And this is why bias is so important to me, and today I'm going to explain to you how to use bias and how to implement it with using live examples to show you it in action, to show how powerful it is. So definitely watch this video, and I hope you guys enjoy. So let's get it and talk about directional bias. Alright, so when it comes to market bias, it can be very confusing. Looking at this chart right here, you might say that price is in an uptrend but has recently switched to a downtrend because of market structure shift. But right now, looking at our current candles, we are going up. And this is where everyone gets confused, is that you can argue both sides and it makes your session extremely confusing. When we are trading a session, meaning we're either trading London session, Asian session, or New York session, we need to be able to define a directional bias for that session. And believe it or not, when you're trading a session, you're not actually trading all of this mess. You're actually trading one candle most of the time, 1 to 2 4-hour candles, because that's how long a session lasts. And this is where people get confused and try to analyze so much that they just confuse themselves on the lower time frame, because maybe the 4-hour looks like it's going up, the 15-minute looks like it's going down, and it becomes a mess. This is where directional bias completely changed the game for me in my trading and cleared up everything. So it's only going to be a magical, simple step of 2 candles. 2 candles is exactly what gives you the information. Remember, everything in the market comes from the higher time frames. The higher time frame guides the lower time frame. The lower time frame builds the higher time frame. I mean, the higher time frame guides the lower time frame. The lower time frame builds the higher time frame from the guidance that was made from the higher time frame. So let me clear up how to analyze a chart like this and find out exactly what you're looking for on a day like today. So what you're actually going to do is you're going to look out for 2 candles here. You're going to be looking for how the previous daily candle has closed. So in this case, I've drawn a bullish scenario, and how the previous 4-hour candle has closed. Again, I've drawn a bullish scenario here. These are both previous candles, okay? So we're going to write this here in a nice little text box. So this is going to be... So these are your previous candle. What do I mean by previous daily? I mean the daily that closed before the current daily candle. So you're gonna, when you look at the chart, when you go to a daily time frame here, previous daily is the candle that closed before the current one that is now open. This candle closes in 11 hours. In 11 hours, this will be our previous daily because we'll have the new candle open, right? So that is our previous daily, and that is our previous 4-hour. Let me get back all my drawings. So those 2 candles are going to give you the most information here. So previous daily and the previous 4-hour. What do I mean previous 4-hour? You have session starting time. So you're going to have London session, you're going to have New York session, and Asian session. The candle that closes before London session is going to be the candle you're going to use. The candle that closes right before New York session on the 4-hour is the candle you're going to use to be previous. To keep it simple, when you show up to New York session at the session time, or when you show up to London session, whatever 4-hour candle closed before that, that's the candle you're looking at. So you're always just looking at the previous candle close. You're looking at these 2 candles. If the previous daily closed bullish and the previous 4-hour closed bullish, the session bias is going to be bullish. What does that mean? That means I am only looking for buys. Today I'm not taking sells, I'm only looking for buys. Later in this video, we're going to get into some live examples to show you exactly how this works. So I'm looking for buys because previous daily closed bullish, previous 4-hour closed bullish. Now, if we had previous daily closing bearish, like this, and then we had previous 4-hour candle closing bearish before our session, in that session, I'm only looking for sell setups. Why? Because that's where probabilities lay, and that's how daily bias looks. So you can forget about trying to look all the way past in the future. You still need to do your markup, your analysis. We're going to speak about a bit about market structure, and that's going to come in the next section when we actually talk about what if one of them are opposite, because these 2 are easy. Previous daily bullish, previous 4-hour bullish, my session only buys. Previous daily bearish, previous 4-hour bearish, my session only sells. But what if one of them is mixed? What if previous daily is actually bearish and previous 4-hour is bullish? Aha, that's tricky now, because now we have something called a mixed bias, right? So what does this mean? This means that bias is mixed. I'm going to delete these to make it clear for you. That means that bias is now mixed. That means we can look for buys and sells, but which one do we look more likely for? That's what we're going to get into and make this clear, because it would be like, well, now I can just look for buys and sells. Essentially, yes, but this is where you need to do your top-down analysis, because although you can look for both, there's going to be one that makes more sense. Now, one thing I would like to mention in mixed bias is that whatever the daily candle is closing is probably going to be stronger, right? But don't forget the 4 hours, because the 4 hours can guide your session. So let me explain a scenario where probably looking for sells would not make sense in your session. So this is a nice little scenario. Let's say we had 4 hour candle closing bullish at supports. So we had a support that was made with price here. We had a previous 4 hour candle closing bullish from there. We had a daily candle close bearish, giving us the mixed bias. But where did the daily candle close bearish? It closed bearish at a support. So you have support and resistance. Support would be a support line. If you don't know this basic stuff, you should probably not be watching bias. You should be watching basics. And I have videos for that to help you on that. So learn that first. I have a free course there. My last video explains the entry. So probably after you guys watch this, you can watch that video that will help you about the entries. But price here closed at support. What do we see? 4 hour rejecting support, daily closing at support. So even though today is a mixed bias and I can look for both buys and sells, it's gonna make more sense to look for buys, because that's what price action is telling me. So let's go on the actual charts and look at an example of that and have a look at all these examples and see how to do it, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So this would be a common scenario where you would be flagged a mixed bias. For you guys staying in the video, I have a gift for you. If you go into indicators on TradingView and type Tradesharpe, right, just type Tradesharpe, you'll get Tradesharpe session bias, completely free indicator that is going to tell you if the session bias is bullish or bearish. You'll see it will pop up like this. You can have it wherever you want on the screen. As you can see, it is flagging bullish. For now, session bias is not bullish. It's just because I have not skipped the candle. But once this candle closes, it will show you that this session is mixed. So this is the example I'm going to use now to show you a mixed bias. Before, it was pretty simple. If we rewind to this candle here, we can see previous daily closed bullish, right? Previous daily closing bullish, previous 4 hour closing bullish. That means I'm only looking for buys in that 4 hour. Look what happens next candle. Boom, we go up, right? We move pretty nicely here. This 4 hour candle moved a total of 180 pips. Simple. Why? Previous daily, previous 4 hour session bias bullish. But now the next candle closed bearish here, okay? This will change to bearish when I skip by one more candle, but it will ruin the whole point of it. So now we have a mixed session bias, right? So you can use that indicator. Leave a like on this video for me giving you that free value, and a nice little indicator to help you guys out have a bias, okay? So this is a scenario of a mixed bias. Technically, we have created resistance. We can look for sells, right? But does it make sense to take the sells? This is where you need to look at the story. And the story starts from even as high as the weekly time frame. At the time, weekly time frame have been pushing strong bullish. We've been seeing green candle after green candle, no resistances being pushing bullish. When we investigate the daily candles have been still closing bullish. We have not closed at a resistance. It's not like we're rejecting this resistance back here, right? When we go down to the 4 hour time frames, we can see what price action has been doing. What market structure has been making higher highs and higher lows. This is called an uptrend, right? When we have higher highs and higher lows, you can see high means this high is higher, right? These highs are higher, these lows are higher. How do we know a support is created? When candles close bearish followed by at least 2 candles closing bullish will create a support on the 4 hour. I mean, one candle will be a support, but we're talking about lows and highs, right? So we can see that price action is bullish, structure is bullish. We only have one candle. Could this be the start of the pullback? Yes, it could. But in times of volume, we may want to continue the move, okay? So this is where everyone would start to look for sells. But when you tell the story, you can see the story means that, hey, we could actually start to look for upside from here. And what actually ends up happening is that today, even though we can look for sells, the buys can make more sense here. And you see that the buys actually do play out. Boom, we break the high and it goes up for that session, respecting the low. Why? Because of that higher time frame analysis. So in mixed bias, even though you can take buys and sells, one would make more sense based on the price action, which you guys need to practice, which is why in the exclusive group, I make them send me their plans and bias on a daily basis to make sure they get this stuff right, as it's super important. It's what sets up your session, right? So really important, and it's a drill you guys should be doing as well. You know, making sure you're doing all of this together, okay? So let's go ahead and look at another example here. I'm actually going to show you from a live stream of how important bias is and how important bias becomes, because this is easily where people get caught up. So this is actually from this week. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Daily, same story. We're having a support here. We're at daily resistance. So remember, daily candle is bullish. And so we're going to bring the daily resistance into this equation here. This is me doing my markup. So this is how I mark up my charts. I stream Monday to Friday live on YouTube. So join up, boys. Now listen closely. So we are bullish bias. Previous 4-hour close bullish. Previous daily close bullish. So bullish bias today, right? Means we're looking for buys. Now we're at resistance. A lot of people in this session are going to get fooled and they're going to take sells. So this is Monday this week, right? So let's go into Monday's session and see what actually happened in Monday's session. And a lot of you are going to be surprised. So this is Monday's session here. This is where a lot of people are going to try to start to take sells. They're going to be like, man, we're rejecting that daily resistance. If you remember from the stream, we were rejecting around that 4-hour resistances. And we started to reject all of these highs here, right? And I won't spoil what happens, but we can see this is where people start to take sells. We're seeing structure break. We can skip a few candles. Price starts to now create support. That support failed. Everyone looking for sells, and boom, what do we end up doing? We end up going to the upside. And this is where people are like, nah, this is just a liquidity grab to continue down. They start to look for sells again. This candle is like, sells have to make sense now, right? Even though bullish bias, we went up. Now the sellers are totally convinced. Bro, that's a liquidity grab. I told you my sells are right. So they tried to sell again. Now, especially that we've broken the structure, all the naysayers are going to be saying, no, but we respected structure here. That's why it went up. No problem. You don't follow bias. Don't listen to bias. Price started going down. Now everyone's trying to get into sells. They get into sells, get triggered into the sells, breaking these lows. And what ends up happening on price? We create support and go on one of the nicest rallies of the week. Why? Because bias was bullish. So if you tell me sells made sense today, you kind of missed out. So let me ask you a question. Was it easier to find a buy in this type of move or in this type of move? For me, I have more chances of winning my trade when the buys are moving this strong. How did I know the buys made more sense? Bias. So it's more easier for me to find a trade in that type of scenario, right? And that's why bullish bias on stream is all I said there. And if you go and you see, you can start to see that, boom, that is exactly, we watched that happen live, right? We watched that all happen live, how it pushed through and looked to capitalize off some trades up towards the upside. So very important to notice that, guys. Very important to notice that. I want to show one more example before wrapping this up. So this is the last example. This actually happened yesterday, and the guys in the exclusive group in NY session, we sent a plan if 4-hour candle closing bullish to look for buys. And the guys in the group actually took this buy and won on gold. This is a prime example of power bias. So everyone here is actually looking for sells. 4-hour break of structure, rejecting daily giving rejection candles here, but previous daily closed bullish, previous 4-hour closed bearish, but we had the 4-hour candle closed bullish here. Everyone thought that this might be a retest to continue down, but in terms of my rules, 4-hour closing bullish is now changing bias to bullish because previous daily bullish, previous 4-hour bullish. So with the guys in the group, they ended up executing on gold buys in terms of entry strategy. If you're interested in that, check out some of my other videos. So they ended up taking some of the gold buys here following bias, and you can see that for that next 4 hours, what did price do? Head up, right? Because that's the session we're trading, 4 hours. So it headed up. And if you're interested, I'll give you a little sneak peek. The gold buys were after this candle here breaking the high. Stop loss was below here. Entry was scaled in on the 5-minute here, breaking these highs. TP first watching this zone, and then TP at a 1-to-1. Most of the guys got out at, but that's a clean trade, man. That's a clean trade. Stop loss below the lows here and moved quite nicely, right? So it's easy to get caught up. It's easy to get confused trying to look at, oh, 15 minute is lower highs, lower lows. No, once you have bias, the next thing you guys need is a strategy to implement the bias on, which is exactly why I made this video that you can go ahead and watch, that sums everything up in a matter of 16 minutes. If you want a more in-depth video and more information, you can also see my free course. If you of course want to trade live with me and get access to all of the good stuff and speak to me on a personal basis, more than welcome to join the team in the exclusives. So all the resources are there. I'm going to leave you with the last video that you guys can watch next on the ending slide of this video. Take care, trade sharp, leave a subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and hopefully catch you guys very, very soon. Peace.